right, welcome to the special edition of Slasher Sunday. Why is it special? Well, I hope you know by now because I have a new intro. I have two huge thank yous to give out right now. Number one is Rebecca Rinehart, who gave me the software to edit. She was unbelievably gracious with that, took her time with me on the phone. I'm not the most tech savvy person in the world. I am okay, but she is very, very good at that stuff and helped me out and unbelievable. So generous. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Seriously. I'm going to use that a lot in the coming videos. And then another huge, enormous shout out to Stephen Arthur for doing the music. That is a score that he wrote for me in like an hour or something. I wrote him up and I was like, hey, Stephen, can you put together some music for me? He's like, yeah, sure, whatever you want. And I was like, can you make it sound like Maniac? The Elijah Wood one, maybe like The Guest, and I kind of sent him a couple little things, and as soon as he was like, I'm working on this, he like sent it to me so quick, and I was like, what? And I pressed play, and how you ask people to do something, and then, or they are gonna show you something that they're proud of, and then you watch it, and you're like, please don't suck, because you're like nervous that you're gonna have to fake it, or you're gonna have to then use it. And I was listening to it and I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. Like, this is exactly what I wanted. I don't have to lie. I don't have to bullshit. Like, I'm genuinely not only impressed, but fucking blown away by how awesome and perfect the song is. So go ahead and, give them some kudos down in the comments, man. Tell them how awesome they are because they deserve it. So thank you guys. Now let's get into the movie itself. I wanted to do something different here. This is, usually I do movies that I know and I love so well. Now, I have seen Return to Horror High before, but it's been so long I didn't remember it almost at all. So, yeah, let's talk about Return to Horror High. It was just fun to throw something on new, basically new to me. Now, this has George Clooney in it, and my memory of him in this movie was he was in it for one small tiny little scene, and he was only in I don't think I even remember him having a line. I remember him being an EMT who came in after the murders or something and got killed in a second. His death was still the same and in the same spots. I remembered that, but everything else I didn't. Now, while he's not in it a ton by any means, he's in it a lot more than I remembered. So he is in the movie maybe, I don't know, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, somewhere along those lines, and he probably has 20, 25 lines. So that was surprising to me. I did not. Does he deserve top billing? Absolutely not. That's to sell the DVD, clearly. And he's even top billed, one of the first two, I think, on the opening credits here. So that was definitely altered for the release of the DVD, or it's been altered since Clooney became more popular. There's no way he made top billing. And maybe he did, but I cannot imagine how. Maybe they just knew he was going to be a star. I don't know. Because this is pre-ER or anything. So this guy had no, fame. We also have Maureen McCormick in here, who is Marcia from the original Brady Bunch. And my God, is she freaking hot in this movie. Now, this movie kind of reminds me a little bit of a blend between April Fool's Day, and obviously we're talking about spoilers here, and I'm going to start putting spoilers in the thread itself because people always complain that I don't. But it kind of reminds me of April Fool's Day because no one ends up dying. It's all a big gag. So you got that side of it, and then you have, it kind of has a similar tone to a sorority house massacre, which I have reviewed in depth, all three of those, maybe a month or two ago. It's just really it's a parody that sort of plays in the realm of reality at times. It's all, and this film takes place almost like a Pulp Fiction, where it's all different time periods going on. They just kind of cut, but I guess Pulp Fiction is a little more it starts at kind of at the end, and then it moves to whatever. But this one just, it jumps all over the place. I don't know where the fuck we are in this movie most of the time. I don't know if we're in a flashback. I don't know if we're in the present, because there's two flashbacks. There's one that's 5 years before or something. Then there's one that happens and a few hours or 10 hours or something like that before, and then there's the current. So they're like, there's the current that's going on, and they're telling them about what happened, and what happened, they're always telling about what had happened before. So it's super, super confusing. And when and half the movie, like, not half the movie, I'm exaggerating, but a lot of the movie, there's moments where like you think something is happening for real, and then it's part of the movie. And you think this is a flashback to what actually happened. So I'm not sure what actually happened at all in this entire film. I don't know what was where and who was what. It's super, super confusing in that way. And as I said, because it's a parody type film, not full on like Student Bodies or a Scary Movie or something, it's close-ish. It's parodied up. So, but anyway, let's just talk more about the actual stuff that goes on in the film that I did understand. Now, this is them making a film. Kind of reminded me a little bit of The Third Horror by R.L. Stein. Anybody ever read those old Fear Street books? I finished that book the minute that 9/11 happened. Yeah, real great memory. I stayed up all night. I read the second one, the second horror, and I finished it, and I hated it. And I was like, I gotta wash this taste out of my mouth. And so I sat there and I read the whole third book, and as soon as I finished it, my phone rang, and I picked it up, and they were like, turn on the TV, and it ran upstairs, and 9/11. So great memory attached to that. But that's a very similar storyline. Like, they go back and they're filming a movie there, and shit starts to happen that had happened in the past, and the killer is coming to get them. Which has happened in other movies, but I thought that for people who are like me, they probably remember those books, and maybe someone would remember them, so it'd be a fun little callback to their childhood. I like the fake exploding tits. We get a lot of that going on in the movie where things are clearly real, but they're supposed to be special effects. So we get a girl who has these amazing tits, and she's like out there, and he's like, too bad they're not real, and he like grabs one and pulls it off of her. And then there's another guy as a black janitor, and he's revealed to be the killer, and he pulls his face off Mission Impossible style. I've said this recently in Tales from the Crypt episode review. But he pulls off the mask, and all of a sudden he's, this white dude. And somehow his hands are now white. He wasn't wearing white, gloves as well. Who cares? But it's so dumb. It's like, nobody's that good at prosthetics. No, and this wasn't even, like, he wasn't even working with the, special effects guy. Like, this is just on his own. But maybe he was, because we don't know. We never know what's really actually happening. And at the end of this movie, there's actually a killer. But the way they have the rest set up, there isn't actually a killer. So when he comes back to life, I'm like, did they leave him behind? And then he pulls the thing out of himself, and he's like, he comes at the cops, and they shoot him a whole bunch, like the end of Halloween 4, when Michael's getting blasted by Meeker and all this, the state troopers. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this guy is really the killer? There was killers? I don't understand. And then we find out the writer is his son, and that the writer is trying to write a new script for his dad, and then his dad actually shows up. We don't see the dad, but he says dad. I mean, maybe he's a fucking lunatic, and he sees his father, whether he's there or not, but there's blood dripping on their paper, and there's nowhere else blood there. So the dude is clearly supposed to be there, and he survived that somehow. And I don't understand how the cops got there, and all the people that were out on the grass and in the place are dead, but what? Because they're mutilated a little bit, they didn't check a single pulse, not one person. And as I said, it's a parody, so I can't take it all that seriously. But I'm like, really? And I love that Marsha's character is like rubbing fucking blood all over her tits, and then she comes up eating a chili dog, and she has like bloody hands, and she's eating it over her like captain, and it's just like you spilling chili all over his back while he's trying to investigate, and she like comes and just like kind of knocks it off his shoulder. It's like the humor that's inserted, but then there's other moments where it's kind of trying to be serious. It's fucking odd. It is a very odd blend. It's like almost two different films that have been edited together. And I love the janitor, like one of his lines when he's talking about how he's going to be a star now, and he's like, oh yeah, man? He's like, yeah, and after this, I'm going to do some of them pussy films. I got 10 inches strapped to my leg. I thought that was so fucking funny. Such a great line, and such great delivery on it. And then I love how the producer, because we get a lot of producer versus director's vision thing going on here, which is what does happen on a lot of sets. And he's just like, no, we need to amp up the blood and the tits. And this guy's like, no, I want to make something more of like, you know, artistic. And then they go to the writer, and the writer's, I'm trying to write a psychological thriller. I don't even want gore or any of this. And they're both kind of like, fuck you. And there's like no, you know, agreeing going on the set. And then of course the producer always wants the what sells tickets. He doesn't care if it's art, he doesn't care if it's fucking good, he doesn't care about anything, he doesn't care about, you know, whether people are going to be pissed off or not. He's just like, it'll sell tickets. And he even says somewhere in the movie, they're like, you know, people are going to be offended or whatever. And he's like, as long as they keep coming to the theater, I'll keep making them. And that's just the truest form right there. Producers are in it for the money. They don't give a fuck about the art. There are some producers, but for the most part, and I get it, they're the ones putting up the money, and they're not really the artistic ones. They're the ones that are there to be like, here's the fucking money, make me a return. And I'm going to look at all the movies that are making money right now, and I'm going to try to emulate, copy, ape, whatever, from all of them. But the the director is talking to one of his actresses, and his actresses is like, you know, this is bullshit. This movie is fucking lame. I don't want a girl to be raped on film. It's you know, offensive to women. That's what he says. I'll keep making them too. And she's like stomps off, and his, you know, reaction to that, him trying to fix the problem there, is he goes to the writer and he says, write her like a really good scene, you know, with this girl, and make a lot of drama in there for her to act and whatever, and make it to where they're both nude. I just thought that was fucking great. It's like, oh, he's actually like do it. Nope. He's still a dick. He's still throwing them at him. And then we have a teacher who is blackmailing his students for sex so that they can get a good grade. And one of the girls comes in, she's like, what the hell, I'm getting C's. And he's like, look at yourself in the mirror, like you're not worth an A. Like, I fucked you, but you're still not worth an A because you're not attractive enough. And I thought the girl was fucking hot, dude. So I was like, what are you talking about? This guy's got high standards for a fucking, you know, a rapist. Jesus Christ. I love that in the background we see like the head chop in the shadow, like behind the glass door, like one of those old detective doors where it's like glossed over glass, and you just see like the knife come up and then the head flies up out of the way, which doesn't make any sense because there's no fucking real killer, but then there's no dead bodies. I don't know what the hell's going on here. And then there's another moment where like the guy is lured by a bolt that falls off the table, and he's like following it, and for some reason isn't completely like blown away by this or thinking he's part of a practical joke. Maybe he is, and that's why he's following it. But I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, he's following, it's fine. And he goes and he gets into the sand, and this sandbox has arms come up and pull him down into the thing. And then later in the movie, they go and they find the sandbox and they puncture through it, and somehow all the sand didn't just escape and fall right down into the hole, because it was just like a mesh thing or like a plastic thing that was holding it all up, which wouldn't hold the weight of all that. He couldn't puncture it, at least. I don't understand any of that. That made no sense. But yet again, another thing is just like, whatever. You just, it is what it is. God, I always jump all over the place, and then I'm like, wait. There's one bullshit dream sequence in this where that girl, because that's just it. There's so many fake outs. There's not only fake outs of like, oh, this is all a movie, like an April Fool's type thing, like it's all a big joke, but we also get dream sequences too? This movie's all over the fucking place. We have a full like 2-3 minute scene where the girl is getting chased by the killer, and like she gets killed and the whole thing, then she wakes up screaming, and then she like goes into a scene in the movie which is another fake out, and it's like, what the fuck is going on? This movie is crazy. The mask in this movie, which is just kind of in and out of the movie, it's not really the killer's mask, because the killer ends up being the janitor, which ends up being like the other dude, Mr. Castleman or whatever. But the mask that they do show, which is I guess the mask from the movie that we don't really see all that much, but it's here and there, kind of reminds me of a mix between like a Halloween, like Michael Myers, maybe like Halloween 6, mixed with like Ghostface, but almost like the Ghostface from Scary Movie, especially that one with the like, what's up, and his like face is all like crinked up, and like you got little eye slits for the holes in the Scary Movie mask. Weird mask, right? But yeah, it's crazy. It's yeah. Anyway, and then there's these weird ass lyrics that are going on about pushing it in deep and all this stuff, and it's like showing their sex scene, and it like keeps cutting to like welding. What they're welding? I must have missed what they were welding, but like what the fuck? It was like sex welding, sex welding, sex welding, while this fucking band's like, yeah, like put it in deep or whatever. It's like, what the fuck? This movie's so insane. It's so like, it's fun though. I had a good time because I was just sitting there the whole time, like writing everything down, like, the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck? How do I talk about all this shit? There's so much insanity here. I do love when they get up on it, and this is probably the most famous scene. I wonder if it's on the back. Yeah, it is. It's under this stupid used sticker. Yeah, I bought it used, okay? Whatever. But you can't even really see it. But it's like they come in on this room, and there's like skeletons in there, and they have cobwebs all over them, and it's set up a funeral. And then we find out that the guy who was the cop ends up being the... he knocked up Mr. Castleman's daughter, and I guess she died or something, and then he's blaming him for it, so he wants to kill him. But I guess he really is a killer, and I guess he really did kill George Clooney, because we don't see him again. So there was killing going on there, but there was other fake killings going on there, but no one seemed to care when it was all over of the crew that faked it all. They weren't like, oh, by the way, I killed a guy in there who was a killer and tried to kill me and this girl. Like, they just all run off together, like, yeah, like, we got a film, and we're gonna do like a Blair Witch thing here, where it's like, you know, these filmmakers went in and then, you know, their footage was recovered and their bodies disappeared from the crime scene, which would be a great story, and it would sell tons of tickets, don't get me wrong. Holy shit, would it ever, if that was real. I don't think they could use any of the footage and actually put it in theaters because, you know, that's police evidence, and that's just not how it works. That's why the Blair Witch and all these found footage movies could never be real, because unsolved murders are not allowed to be shown to the public. That's how you know those movies are bullshit. And yeah, and then the guy like gets up, and in his way, his tactic to get away from this guy, which is kind of smart. He's like, you know, I gotta go home. I'm gonna watch Monday Night Football. And she's like, what? And he's like, you're crazy, aren't you? And he's like, you know, yeah. And he like javelins the dude, and he gets the girl down. And he was crazy for a moment, but maybe it was just a tactic to get him. As I said, like, I thought he was gonna be the killer for a second, and then it's all over the place. And then this movie ends with a song that just keeps like singing like, I like scary movies. And I thought it was a great way to end this movie, because they're making a scary movie within a scary movie, and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, cool stuff. I'm kind of just trying to throw through my notes here. I'm pretty sure I got the majority of it. Yeah, I think so. Doesn't matter. So, yeah. So, what'd you guys think of these? This theme, this intro that I made. You like it? You know every film in it? Can someone name every film in there? No one who actually knows, like Rebecca or something, when I send it to her already. Okay, no cheating. But anyway, guys. Slasher Sunday is over. What a bummer, but it was fun. All right, guys.